Welcome. My name is Paul Trani. I'm from Adobe, and we're going to talk about 3D printing. I don't mean to be in your guys' way, but just tell me to step aside if I am. I know this is also being recorded, so for your viewing pleasure later as well. There's my information on Twitter and my website, which I have like a ton of tutorials, but it's really cool that I get to present to you guys today. For me personally, it's just awesome. I went to art school, graduated with an illustration degree, and I just, I like getting my hands on new technology because it's like another area that I can exploit for my own creative endeavors. Okay, so you'll see some of those today, and yeah, I think we have quite a large group here in terms of like different professions and everything, or majors, if you will. So I'm going to talk about 3D printing. Like, what's up with all the hype? I hear all this 3D printing. It's supposed to be the next cool thing. I heard the president talk about it probably over a year ago. You know, it's just like, what's this all about? What's with all the hype? And I want to kind of sort of demystify it, and then I'm going to show you how to use mainly Photoshop and do some 3D printing. Okay, so this is stuff that you could do this afternoon after I'm done talking. So it's been around since the 80s. There I am. I'm like the guy with his pants almost up to his armpits. You see that? It's almost right there. But 3D printing has been around since the 80s, guys. It's when it was originally invented, okay, and used largely for manufacturing. Okay, so the inventor had patents on it, okay, and it's been in use roughly for in certain professions or certain industries, mainly manufacturing. Okay, and that kind of happened. And then 2010s roll around. So when a lot of these patents started expiring, because they worked for 30 years, so that it's the system working, it's doing its job, and that's why we have this explosion, okay? Because those patents expired, all these little companies start popping up, and then they start making printers and selling them, and people just making 3D printers since those patents expired. So it like hit the maker community first. But nonetheless, that's kind of where it came from. Because when you hear people talking about it, oh, it's been around a while. Yes, you're right, it has been. But it's this the patents expiring, and based on all these new competitors, have really moved the industry forward as well. Because we're going to talk about different types of materials as well. So there's plastic, which is kind of what you're used to seeing, but there's like a zillion different materials you can print in, which makes it exciting. Ceramic, metal, and it's really fun as a designer to take advantage of this stuff. So again, this is sort of the hype, 3D printers being available to the public. Low cost as well, it's dropped costs down as well. Competition does that. New materials being introduced, lots of innovation in that area, new industries popping up as well. And I like it because you can make almost anything. So let's just take a first look actually at how this actually works. And this is like a rep wrap. Let's turn that down a little bit. This is how it basically works. You have that plastic spool at the top getting fed into that extruder, which melts it like a hot glue gun basically, right? And that's what melts. Based on that 3D model, it starts making that shape. Okay? Any guesses on what it is? You guys have seen this video? Is that what the inside of my hand looks like? Is it really like that? You guys see that pattern in there as well? So, just so we're all on the same page, that's how it works, guys, in general, okay? So based on a 3D model being fed to this machine, and it's just that extruder doing it layer by layer, all right? You did notice, hopefully earlier on, I should have pointed it out, the inside of that hand, there's that lattice work or that honeycombing. It's like, okay, well, how was that put into place, And, starting out at the beginning of this movement, say, if you got involved in this, especially in 2010, you'd have to actually add that in as part of your model. Okay, so all this complexity starts to develop around what you want printed. Okay, let's take a look at this next one as well. This is fused deposition model. It's an FDM printer as well. This is the MakerBot. All right, so you can see that printing out something. And you can see all those various little legs, those trees that's holding that up. That's the scaffolding that happens as well. So for this rabbit, it can't start printing that ear in midair. It has to build scaffolding up to it, and then it can start building the ear. All right, and what you do is you go through, you start to break off all of that, all those parts. Okay, and traditionally you would have to, as the designer, you'd have to put that stuff together. You'd have to actually build that in. Okay, so we're running into a couple things. One is, what does the inside of an object look like? Is it going to hold up in the real world environment like that hand? And then also scaffolding to make a successful print. And you got to go through all that work. So the cleanup. All right. So that's the main type of 3D printer you guys probably have seen, might be familiar with, right? This is the FDM. This is basically a lot of plastics, different colors. That's how that's done. There's different types of printers as well. So there's one that uses a laser or even like glue. So this is the glue one. I should actually show you the
powder is deposited and sprayed with a binding agent and ink. The build comes out of a printer in a block of powder material that is then excavated using a vacuum. The prints at this point are extremely brittle because they're essentially wet plaster. Designing with the green state in mind will help ensure that the models survive during this stage. After we break them out, we put them into an oven where they sit to dehydrate for a few hours. Once the models are dry, we air blast them to remove loose powder. Escape holes allow the loose powder in hollow models to escape during blasting. To finish the models, we coat them in cyanacrylate, which is essentially a large vat of superglue. After the cyanacrylate is cured, the model is ready to be shipped. Sandstone is a great material for things like figurines and desktop toys.
So that's kind of cool seeing how that works. It's that powder, right? So it's like glue and powder, as well as, obviously different colors. It's actually, if I remember correctly, it's like a huge inkjet printer because you can see the ink cartridges on the outside, CMYK, right? And that's how this is made, this, full color sandstone, okay? Notice how there were no supports, which is awesome because that powder supports this object. So it's awesome. Typically really clean, so anytime you see something, to be honest with you, Shapeways is a company that does fulfillment. That was Kat who was talking there. They use that powder, so they never have anything that has a support, just so you know. They use powder for all their materials. But it also means you could have more than just, say, plastic. So I'm covering two types. One was the FDM, the kind that you can go buy a MakerBot for $2,000. Buy that MakerBot, you could start producing the stuff at home if you want to. And then there's the expensive powder ones that are, $200,000, some ridiculous amount, right? And what do I do? I make my models. I'll print them up at home. When this guy is ready, that's when I'll send him to Shapeways, and I'll then have them print him out. And I literally did this like a week ago. I sent it to him, and then I just got it in the mail this morning. So again, I like this as a designer, being able to, what was once on my screen is now in my hand. I have a God complex over this stuff now. Like, I can make anything. That's kind of how I feel. So yes, are we feeling good so far? Does that make sense? Just kind of starting out at a base level, a range of knowledge in the room, and I want to make sure we're all on the same page, okay? So we covered the hardware. That's kind of how that stuff works. And there's all this stuff in the middle, all this stuff that has to happen in order for me to, model something in 3D and to have it printed out. So you have these issues, that honeycomb pattern on the inside, the support structures. How thick are the walls? How thin can I have metal? How thin is that going to be? These things that you typically would have to worry about, and you'd have to actually build that into your model, typically. But and again, that's sort of that's the gap that happens. You have your 3D modeling tools, okay? So you have your Cinema 4Ds, your Rhinos of the world. not really aware of 3D printers, this new technology comes along and they're trying to retrofit some of this software to 3D print, okay? So there's that gap is what it is. And usually it means is a bunch of screwed up prints. I have like it's like Island of Misfit Toys. I have a whole box of like things that I've just screwed up on. And that's what happens, is you end up with all this stuff that doesn't quite work. But to be honest with you, that's where also, Photoshop will come into play, all right? And again, I like using tools I know Photoshop. Hey, let's make this as easy as possible for us. So what you do see is going to be what you get when it gets printed out, okay? And this is no different, guys. Just like in the 80s, right? What did PostScript, where did Adobe's legacy is built on PostScript? Sort of our type, what we saw on the screen being printed out, right? So it's the same thing, it's just a new type of printer is what we're dealing with. So again, you have the same thing with photos, being able to create whatever you want, and then print that out. I don't know why I put family pictures in here, but I did. I'm the guy with the jacket that's way too big for him, and a collar that's easily the size of my head. So, and how come my brother got the cool suit? Like, he's looking sharp. I look like I'm wearing my dad's jacket. Okay. But that's where it comes from, the legacy of, I can't believe I put in another one. You ever dress up for Halloween and then your mom makes you wear your coat? You're like, Mom, I'm Superman. Superman doesn't wear a coat. That's what happened here. I wasn't even Superman. I was Super Kid, by the way. Homemade. All right. That was fun. All right. So, again, I love getting excited about the technology, but again, it's in your guys' hands. I'm not just saying that. It's really in the creatives' hands to really move this industry forward. Like, it's a new industry. Let's see what we can make in these cases, okay? In these cases. Our case, all right? But again, just making what I want, rather than going out and going to some store and buying an iPhone case, I can make one, right? And this, you're probably wondering on cost, is about $20-ish, okay? That's probably how much I'd pay anyway. And it's, what do? You go into a store and you're hoping that they have something you like. So they're like, is this good? Is this good? Is this good? Or I can just make exactly what I want that's going to be personalized, customized for me, which is cool. All right? So, if we just take a look at some other things as well, just to get you guys excited. I know that's kind of ridiculous, the one in the center. What we have down here, do you guys see the golden mean? Sorry, off to the side. And they put 3.6, I'm sure you guys know what the exact is, 3.168593575? 1.618. I'd give you a prize. I was probably an instructor that said that, and you better know the answer. I was kidding. All right, but lots of fun things you can do. Obviously, I'm showing some examples. I'm going to highlight a few that I actually really like. Eric Van Stratton's work. Again, he's kind of more of a 3D modeler, but he wanted this certain look using 3D models and starts printing up these characters. And he has just amazing sort of fine artwork that you could check out. Okay, very surreal, but really cool, you know? I love this project from Archetypo. They took, every letter of the alphabet, and this is like Bodoni and Baskerville, so they're kind of related fonts. Took the B, and one is Baskerville, the other one's Bodoni, and they strung them together. So each one has a meaning. This is Courier, which was for type, and that's what they did here. These are all the type letters, okay, from a typewriter. But again, 3D printed. This is Universe with the U. It's like, man, I wish I would have thought of this. Again, that's just a fun project. I love this artist. He did 12 shoes for 12 lovers. This is the Heartbreaker. 12 of his ex-girlfriends. The Crybaby. The Gold Digger. Gotta love it. And again, 3D printed. That might be Jet Setter. Right? It's like, come on, really? I want to do that. What's going on here? Again, I'm just trying to get you guys inspired because I think this stuff is awesome. Even this project by Giles Azzaro, I think he's either French or Italian, but check this out. He 3D printed this.
A once-shuttered warehouse is now a state-of-the-art lab where new workers are mastering the 3D printing that has the potential to revolutionize the way we make almost everything. There's no reason this can't happen in other towns. So tonight, I'm announcing the launch of 3 more of these manufacturing hubs, where businesses will partner with the Department of Defense and Energy to turn regions left behind by globalization into global centers of high-tech jobs. And I ask this Congress to help create a network of 15 of these hubs and guarantee that the next revolution in manufacturing is made right here in America. We can get that done.
That's pretty cool, right? Right? He printed out those sound waves, 3D printed those sound waves, and made this. I'm like, I want to do that. That's so cool, and just such a creative idea. So yeah, check out he does some great work. He recently did some heels as well that are like full color, okay, using plastic, because now there's full color plastic available, which is awesome, okay? So you guys might be taking notes, maybe not. Either way, a lot of this is on my website. You can see all those different examples that I link out to. So if I just jump out here, just to kind of put this within context, I have, a list of my favorite projects out there, as well as the technology. So the 3D printing, sort of your beginner's guide, is right here, where I talk about the FDM printer, which is the spool of plastic, and then the stereolithography, which is that laser into actually a liquid resin. So they shoot that laser into that resin, which is awesome. You get detail because you're using that laser, really cool. You still will have supports based on the Formlabs printer. I don't know if they're shipping that one or not, but and then this is the SLS printer. These are the big, expensive printers, which again is laser, might be laser through into powder or a glue into powder. But either way, that's how that works. So I just wanted to point that out as a resource for you guys. I'm going to shift gears because I want to get into like how this is done as well. Again, just use me as a resource, guys, because a lot of these videos are out there, like how to do this stuff. All right. So, but I want to show you guys myself right now. So, Photoshop. So that's okay. Well, just like Photoshop did for photos, and like Adobe's done for text and images. We're all about just making sure whatever you create that's what your final product looks like. So if you're creating something in Photoshop, you should be able to print that out. That's exactly what it should look like. Photoshop doesn't take photos. It's a finishing tool is what it is, right? So you can design with it, sort of do any touch-ups that you want to, and then you can print it out. Okay, so it's the same concepts with 3D printing, okay? So whether even you're modeling in some other tool, you're using Cinema 4D, you could bring that into Photoshop, paint on it, do whatever you want to it, but even from there, I can print it out. It'll add the supports, it'll add a raft, you'll see all that fun stuff. Okay, but that's the idea, it's like produce and finish high-quality, full-color 3D content. Single-click 3D printing. Sounds very salesy. I don't really like these slides. I want to show you guys how to do it, and that's the thing. You could have a scary, uncanny valley kind of what's going on there with that guy. It's a little freaky, if you ask me. But all those different materials you can print, you can print out or select in Photoshop and print out. It's full color sandstone is what's there. Rigging and animation in Photoshop. Yeah, like a 3D model. You have your Collada 3D file, and I'll do this, but you can suck in a 3D animation, and I can scrub to this guy at a certain point and, okay, print out this, or export out the PDF, all sorts of crazy things. Okay, share stuff, online communities, there's a way to do that using Sketchfab. But yeah, we'll get into that as well. So yeah, there we are, hands-on. Let's get our hands dirty now, huh? Shall we? All right. So launching Photoshop. I'm going to keep this really simple because I don't want to lose anybody. And honestly, it is simple. There's no reason this needs to be complex. Right here, what do we have? We have a simple shape, okay? We have this shape. There it is, okay? It's just a vector layer, okay? It could even be a bitmap layer. This could be text. Type in anything I want, okay? From there, again, just keeping it simple, I want to make this 3D. Just go to Window, 3D, and you're going to open up this 3D panel right here. Okay? Sorry, guys, I got to sit down. All right, so I can make it flat, I can extrude it, I can make meshes from, and really these are basic shapes. Guys, you guys know how this works. Everything is pretty much a combination of basic shapes, and they're all right in here. But again, I want to extrude this, selecting extrude, clicking create, it'll go through, and now it's actually made it 3D, okay? And look at how my panel has changed. Check this out, just to show you. Here's my layers panel, all too familiar with it. This 3D panel has changed. Just consider this your new layers panel, guys. That's what it is. Like, I have this object selected. I'm going to be able to rotate that object. I actually want to jump up to current view because that's what I want to change. And I just want to, adjust the position, or just basically moving the camera is what I'm doing. So you can obviously see that it's 3D. It looks good, right? Lighting. Here's my lighting. So I can change the lighting if I wanted to view it from different areas, whatever. Okay. And here's my object. Selecting my object, I get all these controls that I expect, right? So I could rotate that up. Do it like that, right? Some of you might be really particular, like, that's not standing straight up, right? I hear you. I want it to be exactly a 90-degree rotation. That's when we open up the Properties panel. And guys, these are your two most important panels right here. It's 3D and then your Properties panel. So I could just jump over here just real fast. Oh, you're right. I got 84 degrees. Let's make it 90. Now it's standing straight up just like that. That's what I want, okay? And again, I love these sort of on-screen controls because I could jump in and, sort of stretch it, squash it, whatever, and rotate it these different ways by using those various controls, okay? There's more I want to do. In fact, I thinking about, like, instead of putting a logo on a coffee cup, I'm going to turn this into a coffee cup. That's the idea, okay? So with this object selected, maybe the first thing I want to do is kind of taper it down. So I can taper it down like it is going to be a coffee cup. Again, to whatever percentage I want. Tapering it down. I need to, I apparently don't understand how coffee cups work because I got all these holes here. So let's fix that. Do I have to mess with a mesh? Do I have to do that? The answer is no. Because check this out. Anything that you've sort of extruded, you can jump over here for that item. Oh, thank you very much. Let's just edit source. Okay, clicking edit source. Coming over here. Oh, thank you. This is a PSB file. This is like a smart object, guys. But now I can jump in and say, hey, you know what? Again, just that layer. Let's just go ahead and... Whether I get this exact or not isn't a big deal, but I could, drop that in place like that. You guys get the idea. I don't have to do it perfect because I could always come back and change it. So let me just make sure they're all part of one layer. I've made the edit, closing it, and now we're back again to where we are right here. Okay. Looks a little different, right? It looks a little different because why is that gray? You guys noticing that? Because it will take that, whatever color it was, and that becomes a material for the front. So it took that white color, that white is now a material on the front. So nonetheless, I could just change that, guys. Jumping in here, here's all my different materials. Okay, so there's that one material, but in general, maybe what I want to do is, change it to, a different material just like that. In general, I can get rid of, in fact, let me get rid of this. See again, that's the bitmap. I can hit edit texture, and there's that texture on the front, okay? So that's what that is all about. I'll remove it. Remove texture. I will get into textures more later because there's more you can do. But in general, that's what I did. Is I'm making this cup. I have it extruded. I've patched it up. It's looking good, except for that top edge, right? Because I'm like, I don't want to cut my tongue. Maybe I could change the bevel. Now I'm definitely going to cut my tongue, right? At that point, I don't think so. Let's smooth it out just like that, and I will change this material to something more like a ceramic. Okay. Sure, why not? So there's my my 3D model. Let's ignore the fact that there isn't a bottom. Can we just overlook that fact for now? You just made a trick cup. But this is what I want to do. Just take something that you have a vector. You can extrude it. This could be text. I can manipulate this a number of ways. But at this point, I want to print it out. It's as simple as, for this scene, I want to print it out. Right over here, I can print it out. These are my 3D print settings. If you're lucky enough to have a 3D printer that's connected, you can select it just like you would an inkjet printer, right? And print it out. What color is it going to be? Probably be whatever color your filament is, right? So again, select MakerBot Replicator 2, whatever. I could hit print. And in fact, let me do that. Let me go ahead and do that right now. So let's scale it down. So it recognizes the MakerBot Replicator as being the print bed is this size, and it said, hey, your model is this big. You want to scale it down so it fits? I said yes. Okay. So in general, this is where all the magic happens, goes through, repairs any meshes. If things are like close, it will seal them up. The walls, it's actually going to thicken this object, the walls of it, and it will add that honeycomb pattern anywhere it needs to. Okay. So that's what's going on now. Scaffolding, remember the little trees? I don't think we're going to see many, or no, we're not going to see any trees here, by the way. I wish we did. But nonetheless, that's what's going to get printed just like that. Man, I'm good. Look at that. That's nice and clean. That original mesh. The one time I wanted to screw something up, I did it right. I wish life was like that. Man, why? I'm always screwing stuff up. But nonetheless, this is one solid object, and this is going to print out exactly the way I expect it to. Okay, so let's switch this up, guys, because what if I want to, or I don't have a 3D printer? We have Sculpteo and we have Shapeways in here as well. Sculpteo is based in Netherlands. We have Shapeways in Brooklyn. Both good companies, both have slightly different materials, so I'll select Sculpteo. And look at this long list of various materials. A lot of different colored ceramic. We have multicolor. Sick. I'm going to get to that in a second. Plastic, resins, silvers, right? Let's go to Shapeways. We have all those materials. Gold-plated. Yeah, if you want to be that guy with the gold-plated cup, you could be that guy, right? 14 karat gold, gold-plated cup. Print. Heck yeah, I'm doing that. Print. So you guys get the idea. You'll see what happens here. I'm curious as to the price of this 14 karat gold cup. I think it's the size of the print bed, which is as large as the printer is. So it's going to be, any guesses on price? 30 grand. 50. 30, 50. Anybody think it's higher than 50 grand? Let's gotta give it 1 second. And it will come through. No, it doesn't calculate shipping. Good question, though. I should have done this to with a more realistic project. But let's just roll with it. Yeah. The size? Yeah, good question. So how do you control like the size of it? Where I did the rotation, that's where it gives me the size as well. And I can change that from pixels to inches to millimeters to centimeters. And that's typically what I'll do is I'll change it to inches, and then it gives me the size actually on the ground plane. Okay? So yeah, that's a good question. So that's how you do dimensions. What else? Taking a little bit of time. They're like, whoa, gold? That's what the back end said. What are you doing? That's expensive. Question. It's even telling me, whoa, are you sure you want to do this? Ooh, $62,000. Who was closest? That was awesome. Man, well played. You haven't had this done, have you? You haven't had it done? I was like, how did you get that so close? Again, we see the print size. This makes no sense to me. We can see how expensive it is. Yeah, darn right, I'm going to export that puppy. Let's do this. Yeah, you want, and at this point, Photoshop's saying, I don't want to get involved in your business. This is between you and shapeways now. You want me to launch the shapeways site so you could upload it? That's what's happening now. But in general, just so you know how it goes. At this point, I could actually select, say, inches to see the size, but now it's being uploaded. All right? So there's the cup. I want to move on to something else actually really fast while this is loading. Notice the different materials. So if I do chicken out and decide not to go with the gold, I can change it to the ceramic or not sandstone for a cup, but I can change it to metal and all that stuff. All right, so what's going on in the background here, guys? Like, since I've selected the 14 karat gold, that printer, the walls have to be a different thickness than, say, sandstone or the plastic. So it all varies per material. And Photoshop knows this. It says, hey, you're doing sandstone? The walls have to be thicker, so it will go through and it will thicken up those walls. Okay? I will, yeah. So what you should not do is publish something out, say full color sandstone, and then change it to plastic. Because the sandstone isn't going to be as detailed as the plastic. The plastic can be more detailed. So hopefully that makes sense. It is cheaper even. There's the acrylic. You guys get the idea. At this point, I can go ahead and add that and have that printed out or done that way. Let's move on. Let's move on to, again, even something like this. Let me do just a couple things. Same process, I can come in here. I can have this design. I can extrude it. Okay? Just like we did before. You could see, again, it's probably super thick. And I can always change that, like I mentioned earlier. If I wanted to change this size to something that's a little more understandable for me, inches. See, look at how thick it is. I can say make it 0.1 inch. Oh, sorry, that's position. Sorry about that. Let's scale this down. I could either do it this way, adjusting it this way, or come over here and make this like 0.1 if I want to, or 0.2. So I'm changing that size to 0.2 inches, right? You can see it there. Typically, I'll move this to the ground. Maybe I'll rotate it 90 degrees like that, so it's going to lay flat. I can jump in and edit it at any time. Guys, this is just an illustration I did in Illustrator. Just pasted it in, extruded it, and again, there it is. So going from there to laying it flat like that. Again, we kind of already went through this, but just to reiterate. And since I'm going to make this iPhone case, I could imagine there's probably a model out there somewhere, right? So it's like, how do we deal with models from other sources? I don't know if there was a place to, get more content. Oh, look, get more content. Basically, from the 3D menu, you can link out and just grab whatever you want out there. But in general, it's a matter of grabbing a model from, say, online. A source I use is Thingiverse. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Thingiverse, right here. I don't know if you guys have been there, but these are a bunch of open source models that you can download and start to use. So here's one example. So I found the bumper for this, found it online, and I downloaded it. Okay, it's not this one, it's a different one. But from there, I can go ahead and take that and I can import it. So I can bring that in this way. Grab this. We'll see where that's at. There's that. All right, so there's my two models. I can make them part of one scene and start to sync those up, right? Just move them around and get them into position so they match up perfectly, right? And that other one is there, it's just that they're different sizes. So you can see there's my little guy right here. My model, and I can scale that up and position that into place, right? So that's what I do at that point. Okay? And that's what I've done. A lot of times I will model things in Photoshop, just like I did here. I would extrude that. I'll maybe get it printed. I'll sometimes use other tools. So I'll use like Cinema 4D. Is anybody doing any 3D work, just by a show of hands? Okay, good. This is awesome. So you guys could still use those tools and then just bring them in, because that's what I did, in the case of this guy right here, okay? He was modeled to, actually, just so you guys know this whole storyline, and we can talk about all the different uses. Like, here's a character I created, and now I'm going to get him printed in full color sugar is the plan, right? And that printer isn't even out yet. But since this whole storyline deals with these little sugar monsters, it's just an extension of this story, okay? So that's kind of where this comes from. You can see the guy right there. You can see him in my hand. But again, I used partially Cinema 4D for some elements and imported him, and then I used some Photoshop as well, because Photoshop is so good with even painting on items, right? So I can add this color, and that's what I did, is I added a lot of the color in Photoshop, okay, to get this design. As you can see, maybe this will be a little easier. And just since this is being streamed, you can kind of get an idea. Roughly, this guy, again, full color sandstone, created in actually Cinema 4D as well as Photoshop. So you can see the guy right here. I can take a look at him. You can see these different spikes as well. I can start to just take a look at kind of how he's put together. You can see, I'll turn on and off this layer, but it's that top spike right there that I've added. You could imagine what this is, right? What is this? This is just a cone, right? So I've just added that, okay? So here's the cone. I can take a look at the different materials associated with this. Here's the extrusion. Let's edit that texture. Here it is. Let's say, for instance, I want to change that color from red to blue. I can change it and close it. You can see I've changed it, okay? And that's how, again, roughly how this guy was created, using basic shapes and then some modeling in a 3D program, okay? Let's take this a step further, because I want to show you some more things that we can do. Just by going to a new file. Nice and large. So right in here, I can jump in. I showed you how to extrude. I can jump in and, I can create a new cone or cube, any one of these elements. In fact, if I wanted to do, let's do a cylinder, for instance. Creating a cylinder really fast, all right? So here's my cylinder. It's really tall. I can change the size. Okay, rotate it around, and we can see there it is. All right? And what if, say, for instance, again, just to kind of get you guys started, what if I wanted to make like a candle holder? Just keeping it simple. I'm going to turn this into a candle holder, just based on this cylinder. I'm noticing these different materials. Here's the top material. It's like, how do I punch a hole in it? Well, that's all done with transparency. So right over here, I can take this top material. You can see the opacity as I take that down. I can easily change that to be transparent, okay? I could take the sides, so this cylinder material around it. What if I want to do something special there? Well, let's go ahead and create a new texture. Let's do 5,000 by something like that. Doesn't really matter too much. I'm basically kind of determining the opacity, excuse me, the extrusion material. Okay, so this is basically the sides. So I can come in here, and if I decide I want to add, say for instance, a heart, I can draw that heart, and whatever is black is going to give it a hole, just like that. So I can save that, close it, and then there's my heart right there. Okay, so it's like that. Rotate it around. You guys can see how that's put together. Cool? And again, this really has no dimension whatsoever. Like there's no volume to it at all. But when I print this out, it's going to know, okay, based on not sandstone, maybe a metal, it's going to know how thick it needs to make those walls in order for me to print this. Okay, and that's what happens. But you can see how you can sort of punch a hole in an object, for instance, and add that transparency. Okay, even in the case of if you ever have an object that is going to be largely solid. Okay. Like this guy would be really expensive if he was like 100% sandstone, like solid sandstone. All that powder would get trapped inside. But since I've added the mouth is enough of an escape hole to where all that sand can get out. Okay, and that drastically made this a lot cheaper. All right, but that's how you can easily add in, say, an escape hole. All that material will then be able to kind of come out of it, and then it makes it like a lot cheaper. So that's transparency. If I decide I want to do color, I can jump in here, same deal. Let's edit that texture. I want to make it a color. Let's go. A couple different colors. Since it's Christmas time, save that. I've just added some color, and then you can see how it's brought it in that way. You can see how ugly I can make things, right? It's kind of ugly. At the same time, guys, I can jump in and decide I want to just do some airbrushing on it or just some painting on it. I can jump in, and I get these little controls down here, but I can kind of move that around and paint right on this object if I want to. So I'm painting right on that 3D object. I can rotate it around. See? And again, that's how you'd come up and make something, again, like this monster here. Again, as I switch over, roughly. Okay? So again, full color, you guys get the idea, and the project I was working on. Again, not a terribly sexy example, but overall, this is how I can easily pretty much make anything. Adding that transparency is key, all right? Being able to apply that as a texture. You don't have to model everything as a physical 3D object in order to have that transparency, okay? Even as I start to take a look at some of these other examples, this ring, for instance. Again, I already have a video online of how you do something like this. What is that? That's just a heart that's extruded, right? And then it's also warped a certain degree. So again, that's the final. It's the same process of jumping in there, extrude it, take that shape. Let's go ahead and, I could taper it down, but let's get a different view. There it is. Take that a step further. Let's extrude it some more. Let's start to wrap it. Start to wrap it around just like that to make that ring. Okay, you can see it right there. I can taper it down and move this into position so you guys can see it a little better. Like that. Again, that's just a simple version of making that ring. Okay? Take 2 letters, do this for your boyfriend or girlfriend, take those 2 letters, extruding it. I can even have, sort of my initials on one end and her initials on the other end and have them sort of wrap together this same way, right? And at this point, I could take this object. I'm not sure how big it is, but we'll take a look at it right in here. We'll change it to, inches or millimeters. I'd have to get the ring size and then determine that size accordingly. This is really big. Let's scale it down because I do want to take that. And at this point, again, it's just a matter of printing it. So I'll do this in, let's go, yeah, she's worth it. 14 karat gold, baby. So I really didn't pay attention to the size. Let's scale the print volume. Probably should not have done that because I think I just scaled it up. This is more like a big gold belt than a ring. But we'll see how this works because I want to actually show some of the repairing that happens with this. But again, that was done very simply. And I have some of those objects here, like even in terms of some text that was extruded right here, and this was done in metal, right? So I just extruded some text and turned it into roughly a bracelet that you have to have a wrist smaller than mine to put it on. So, all right. This is my version of the glass slipper. All right, so you can see the repairs that have happened where the walls have been thickened. See right there where it's blue? It's thickened those walls because typically this would just not hold up. It wouldn't be a successful print. It goes through and thickens it where it needs to thicken it. Again, that's just that one mesh. Since I did this through Shapeways and it is $18,000, she's worth it. She's worth it, guys. She'd be like, you should have bought me a car. But nonetheless, you can see what you can do there and the repairs that happen. If I would have selected, say, local and selected MakerBot, it would build in all those supports that you need, and I would print it out that way. Okay? You guys have any questions about this as I'm going along? Yes. As I hit print, yeah? How clean are the repairs? I wish I had some for you. They're not bad. I mean, it takes work like you saw in the video. It's pretty standard. It's a little four-sided little, I don't even know what you call them, but yeah. They get thinner at the top, so you can break them off. Typically, and what I'm doing right now, you can see that's exactly what they look like. Oh, how clean are they? Sorry about that. So it just depends on the material. So if I would have selected plastic, it would have been more clear or sharp because you have more detail. So that's what it does. Yeah, we can do that. And again, this is what I wanted to bring up earlier, since again it was top of my mind. You can see all the supports right there. In this case, if I had a local printer, honestly, I want to make sure that this sits right on the bed, right on the ground plane, so I don't have to do all that cleanup, right? So this should sit flat. Okay, so, and again, you can see the raft at the bottom. Let's turn off the mesh. The raft at the bottom prints out that plastic because you need everything to be flat. So when you start printing, everything's going to be in the right position. Otherwise, things get screwed up. And the scaffolding right there. And let's jump over. And castable wax. Cool. So, and just so you can kind of absorb this screen, I know there's a lot going on. Metals, plastics, sand, full color sandstone, and then we need to talk also about full color. Okay, so there's full color sandstone, but there's also full color. And what's meant by that is there are now, scale it to the print volume. Let's check the size. Okay, 11 inches, 3 inches. And we'll hit print. Yeah, I'm going to talk about full color in a second. this might be a case anytime you're making a mold. If you want to make a mold of something, you can make this castable wax, get it printed, and then sent to you. I'm curious as to see the detail. This is one of the newer things. This is, and 14 karat gold's new. Full color is new. So just pick up where I left off. If you could imagine, you could buy, there's the MakerBot 2X, which has 2 spools, so 2 different colors. So you can print, have a multicolor object. That's technically duotone. What happened? Oh, here it comes. We have an update. Yeah, so if you ever see Photoshop having an update, because that's where those came from, sort of out of nowhere. Okay, there's the mesh. 2 inches. Yeah, so 3 inches by 2.5 inches. $157. That's pretty expensive if you ask me. It's kind of expensive. So, yeah, question here? It means where it's blue is where it just thickened it. It'll be the same color. It will be thicker in that one spot. You don't have custom control over thickness. It tries to make it as thin as possible in relation to the material. And on that note, even when it comes to the scaffolding, you're not really controlling the scaffolding either. Like Photoshop will put that together. Yeah, question. For which part? Yeah, like if you wanted to, so two swirling hearts. Yeah, you can repeat, duplicate, and then drag. Yeah, exactly. And that's a good point. So he's talking about sort of how do you join parts together. You could have all these whatever basic primitives, basic shapes. When you hit print, it makes it one solid object, and you'll even see in that progress bar, making it one solid mesh and doing all that stuff, which is cool because you don't have to worry about it doesn't mess up your original model. So, all right, so I'm going to continue on because I wanted to talk briefly. This is the castable wax, kind of expensive, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. But since we're talking about new materials that become available, like how do we update that? Photoshop does its update. The Creative Cloud Photoshop CC will update. But we're also looking out for, here we go, any new technology. At least when we first shipped this, we were like the only app that would do this multi-tone 3D printing. But this enables multi-tone 3D printing, taking advantage, again, of the latest. So it's, we might be printing in black and white, just like you printed in black and white back in the day, and then we hit color, it's the same concept. We might have a duotone printer, basically a 3D printer with 2 spools. You can manage them 4 spools. Now you can go ahead and print out with those 4 colors in plastic, okay? 4 colors in plastic, all right? What's the resolution there? It's like a whopping, last I heard was like 17 DPI, something horrible, to be honest with you. But that's where it's at. But again, I'm able to do that. I can jump in here and I can say, okay, I happen to have the MakerBot Replicator 2X. As I change it right there, it's going to give me those properties right down here. Okay, so in nozzle 1 is one color, and in nozzle 2 is the second color. And when I hit print, I should be able to change or identify, say, hey, this part of the model that's red is going to be nozzle 2 because that's where I have red loaded in. That's what happens if I click print. But these sort of new printers, taking advantage of them this way is what we want to be able to do. Here, I guess I could hit print. I wanted to show you guys one more thing real fast. How much time do I got? I got still time. I know if you guys are doing any sort of 3D animation as well, I can actually bring in a Collada file that has animation and rigging, right? I happen to already have one, but I can go 3D, create a new layer based on a 3D file, and I can grab this model, this Collada file. If you guys are curious as the different file types, they're right down here. STL, stereolithography, that's the 3D print file format, and some other file formats as well. So basically I'm bringing in this DAE file, this Collada file, happens to have animation, bringing it in, and here's my guy, right? We can see him right here. Okay, this guy actually isn't that impressive, but I can jump in and just see, based on the timeline, I can start to scrub through this timeline, and that's actually that guy jumping. I'm going to just switch over to this other layer real fast, since it's already set up. That's what I did here, is I brought in this guy. Okay, I've imported him, and he is actually, again, that has animation with it. So I brought in this Collada file, and I can play through it if I want to. Notice how he's actually comped within that scene. So I used Photoshop to comp in the background with that 3D model, make sure the lighting looks right, all that stuff. I still have full control over this as well. So there he is. He's feeling out his sword. He's like, yeah, I like it. I kind of want to let this animation play. But even look at my 3D timeline, or excuse me, my 3D panel. So we have the guy that I've imported. See the little bone icon? Says, okay. Has rigging with it. I can change the lighting. I can change the point of view so it fits within that, that scene right there. We'll wait for him he should do a cool move in a second. A jump and strike. All right. So the nice thing about this is not only for 3D printing, I can stop him at any point. Right there. I like that spot. I could stop it and 3D print that if I want to. Okay. I can 3D print it in full color if I want to. Done. Another thing I can do is I can export out this model as a PDF with 3D in it. Yeah! Got him! I got him right there, I got him. Right? Good job battling no one there, buddy. So, again, I just wanted to show you this animation. Now that it's rendered, we can jump back and play through it. Again, this is 3D animation in Photoshop. See it obviously play through. Yeah, awesome. At this point, I want this to be printed. I can jump through just based on what we learned earlier. Come in, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and, print this out through shapeways. Let's make this, it could be gold-plated, or we do full color sandstone, right? So from there, I can hit print and have that printed out. We won't wait for that, but you can see what I can do by jumping at any point in here, okay? Another thing I can do is just even, aside from just 3D printing, I can export this 3D layer as well as a 3D PDF, so I can put that 3D object in a PDF. So maybe once I've made the prototype, by the way, which is what I did for this little guy, by the way. All right, I kicked that out. So here's the PDF, and you kind of get an idea, for this model. So this is great, again, for manufacturing, because concerning this little Adobe stand that you can see right here, I'm sorry, you guys online might not be able to see that, but I modeled this in Photoshop, and I used another 3D program as well to make this shape that you can see right here, right? Pretty straightforward. Okay, it's the case. You can see it right there. Sits in there nice and neat. So I did the prototyping at home, and then we sent it out to a manufacturer, and then they mass-produced this. So this is another way, taking that, putting the model in the PDF. I can send that anywhere I want to. Say, here's the model. This is what it should look like. Approval, yes, good. Yay, nay, whatever. Electronic signing of those items. That whole idea is what's going on there. But that's what I did with this, is just modeled it at home, and then we sent it overseas. And what was cool is they were able to use even different materials. One material that's not available that I want to be available is like a rubber. So that's what this is. Ready for it? That's like a rubber type material. I don't even know what it's called exactly. But again, I modeled it and was able to send it out. It worked out well. So, because that's my next little deal. is working on some of those materials. You know, you might have the Fitbit. Not a fan of the Fitbit band, but I can model my own as soon as that rubber material is available and make it customized for my wrist. Might be a simple example. Do you guys have any? You guys got some more questions around that? I haven't even talked about industries, by the way, too much. I've just talked about how and what. Yeah. Yeah, you can do, yeah. So I don't know what Rhino outputs, so the question is if you model in Rhino or any other 3D program. STL, definitely. Yeah, DAE, whatever file it outputs. It will, and it might depend on the software. So does it maintain all the layer components like the shapes? It will, like, just so you know, if we take a look to answer your question, which is what I did again with this monster character. Modeled, a lot of it was modeled in Cinema 4D, and then I did some of it in Photoshop. And you can see all the different layers. Right. Here's the model, and you can see the legs. It maintained all of that. Okay? And that's what we want to do. 3D in Photoshop came from the idea to there's a couple different reasons. Compositing, so 3D compositing. I can take a car rather than go and shooting a car. We can have it modeled and bring it into Photoshop and do all the lighting and all that fun stuff. And then even using Photoshop for the materials of that 3D object. So those are the two areas where Photoshop is used. Creating 3D model materials and then compositing for that car ad, that sort of thing. So I can go on and on about that. Yeah, question? I don't know. I honestly don't know. If there's a market out there, yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We have no plans on turning like Photoshop into a 3D modeling tool like to compete with Autodesk. And I don't think there's any plans to make a 3D modeling tool. It's like we don't want to take Autodesk away from you or Cinema 4D or any of those. Like that's kind of covered right now. What I think the issue is that it's too complex. Like I got to learn all this new stuff. That's where the hurdle happens, man. So. Yes, and you could do it different ways. So, you know, can you paint and use different, cube? There's my cube. So I was using the brush, as you can see here. If I wanted to add type to this, so right now I can paint on this. That's great. If I wanted to add type to the front, it's really a matter of editing that material. So I'd go into that front material right here. That thing that you just spray painted on, just go ahead and edit that texture, okay? And then I can say, you know, hello, like that. Yes, I know that's font's dangerously close to Comic Sans, and I apologize. So again, I've just added it there. I could also, hey, check this out. I can do hello, horrible, small, sorry. You know, I could take this text and let's rotate this object around really fast. I can merge down. So if I merge this down, in fact, let's just try this, merge. I can merge those layers and it'll put it right on that object. And again, it should be in here somewhere. Should be able to move. Yeah. I can find that for you guys, but I know you can do that. You can push it down, and I'm just not seeing it right now. That's how that works. And I got to get off this ugly screen. What else do I have? There we go. Let's change it to that. Abstract shape just done with, you know, I'm just screwing it around with transparencies. That's the Creative Cloud logo, and there's these little spire things kind of coming up out of it using transparency.
Hey, Paul?
Yeah.
We have a question from Rodolfo in Riverside.
Cool.
He's actually joining us online. He wants to know if there are going to be any CAD plugins for Illustrator.
There aren't, I don't know. Currently, the answer is no. There's no CAD plugins necessarily for Illustrator. I don't know. I don't think we're working on anything right now, but I could be wrong. Typically, I'm not supposed to comment on stuff that's not released yet. But the answer, to my knowledge, there's nothing going on in that area. If that helps him. So, but you know, I want to do the same thing with Illustrator largely. What can I do there? What I typically do is I copy and paste into Photoshop, and then I do all that fun stuff. Okay. Yeah. Question in the back. Yes, iMaterialize is another company, right? Are they here in town? Or? Okay, iMaterialize. So we're talking about different companies that will do the fulfillment, the printing. I don't know about iMaterialize. We might be working on that internally. The idea is, yeah, the answer would typically be yes. I don't know what the deal is there, but we want to be able to, you know, print this anywhere is the idea, you know? Especially, and that's what's going to help competition. We took a look at the castable wax. As soon as those other companies get involved with printing and wax, that should lower the price, because right now I think $150 for printing that was expensive. So, all right. So, yes, I'm running out of things to talk about, guys. I'm slowing down. I haven't talked about industries at all, right? Because everybody in this room and even online are in various industries. You might be in graphic design, which is why I took that approach, right? I'm traditional graphic design, creating what I want, and getting you involved in 3D printing was my goal, to make it simple and have you have something printed up in time for Christmas, for instance. Just to get your hands dirty, because I think it's really fun. The 3D modelers in here, you guys are awesome, in a good place, right? Because you can do a lot. What was once on your screen is now can be 3D printed, okay? So whether you're doing, I know there might be stop motion animation, you know, the idea of this is my stop motion character, you know, that we saw, printing out all the different heads and, you know, basically my character in these different poses and doing all the stop motion that way. And just everything could be full color sandstone if I want. As soon as the multi-tone printers hit, you know, again, having those multiple colors, you know, great way to do things. And this is actually pretty affordable. I don't remember exactly how much I spent on this, but this is just because it's full color doesn't mean it's super expensive. And there's this guy. We didn't talk about scanning. You can have things scanned, and largely, you know, you have a car where they don't manufacture the car anymore. You need that one part that's that certain size. You can actually get a scanner, scan that part, and there's companies that make this stuff. MakerBot makes printers, and they also make a scanner, but I can have that object scanned, I can repair the mesh, and then have it printed out again, okay? So again, this is cases of a space station. Oh, can't just like send out for it and have FedEx show up. But you can have a 3D printer there, and actually, whether it's even military, you know, something goes down, say in the middle of the desert, and your tank is broken, could you print that object? And that's the idea. It's that whole you know, the logistics of getting that object there, hey, I can just make it is the idea, okay? And it's really cool. And that's where you'll see a lot of these, you know, like the 3D printed selfies, you know, like this little guy. Yeah, so you can actually get scanned as well and print it up. In a place, Santa Clara, there's a place that will do that for you. You can get scanned, get a 3D print of yourself in sandstone. So, again, awesome. Yeah? Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, great question. So, question about printing something that can move, like an object that has different parts. And you can, like in the case of this, first of all, I did not have this done that way. I should have, but I printed it out differently. You could have something move. This is a gear heart. I should be able to twist this thing all the way around. I could actually print this out and it's fully working because I can put that object inside of another object. Not traditionally not possible. Traditionally, you would have to cut that object in half, put that other sphere inside, and then reseal it. But with 3D printing, you can literally print parts and a character put together already. And if you ever want to, so there's different ways to do that. There's different ways of doing that. Yeah, I was just about to get into that, so that's a good question. So how does that work when you want something, you're putting something together? Maybe this will help. I'll tell you the technology, and then you can kind of work it out in your head because it's beyond me, right? With a traditional FDM printer where you have plastic, there's two different types of plastic. Okay, I don't remember the types exactly. I have them up on my blog. One of them dissolves in a liquid. So that's what you could do, is you can have something and then have that, whether it's that floating piece that's off the edge or whatever, that support could dissolve in that liquid, if that helps. I can't wrap my head around that, or when it's like I'd specifically do that, like, you know. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It would require physical support, and the supports is a great way. I'd love to be able to print something out and have the supports be the dissolvable filament, and the other one be regular. So pretty cool. Yeah, question here. Yeah, that's honestly, I think it would be like a rubber, but that's, you're the major in this area, which is not available. So we could just take a peek at any time. And again, since this list might get updated a lot, you have the closest you'd have would be some of this plastic. And you guys are welcome to, I don't know if you guys have had kind of felt these and touched them or whatever. I know you guys have some 3D printers. But it would be like this plastic, for instance, is what I would use. This plastic here, if I sent this out to Shapeways, had them print it, they print it in white, like you saw that white powder. Even if it's plastic, they print it in white and then they dye it. So that's what this is. So conceivably, if I broke this in half, which I don't plan on doing, it should be white on the inside. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how that's done. Do you guys want to get you guys familiar with this stuff? I don't know if I should pass it out, but you guys kind of get the idea. If you, I like how sharp this is, really nice and clean. Here you go. We'll send that guy around too. Do not try to eat him. That's not a real sucker. It's sandstone. But you start looking at different materials, like using the plastic. Like my MakerBot, I can't really I can't necessarily print a cup with that plastic because it's that type of material that's not, might be biodegradable, but it's not officially to be used for like edible items and stuff like that.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
I had a question. So you know how holographics are printed with silk at the moment? Do you think that they'll be able to use silk in 3D printing at any point?
I have no idea. I don't know about printing using silk for holographics, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But the short answer is just you could think about it a number of ways. Anything that maybe is solid at room temperature and can be melted down can easily be 3D printed, is one way to think of the different materials.
So there's a potential that we can print fibers in 3D printers in the future? I'm also a fashion major. So
okay. I love this, like fibers, like, are you talking like any sort of like fabric or?
Yeah. So like a silk or really what I'm getting into is lingerie and finding the perfect fitted bra. So the idea I would have is to body scan a person and 3D print a bra that fits them perfectly.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of trying to find out more information on different filaments that can be used in 3D printing, and if there is maybe a way to find more information on it or to investigate it. Yeah,
and this is like this is an area that's moving pretty rapidly. There's certain 3D printing blogs. If you do a simple search, you'll come up with a lot of that. But I know there's a conference in Las Vegas which focuses largely just on the materials that you could 3D print with. I've never heard anything in terms of fabric yet, as of yet. I know, one of the first people to be on top of that would be like Victoria's Secret. And they've used 3D printers, but they haven't done it with their bras yet. The angel wings, they 3D printed those. So those other parts, somebody 3D printed a dress, this nice white dress, but it was still that plastic. So these people are just chomping at the bit to be able to print in a more comfortable fabric, because I'm not wearing a plastic dress or just a dress in general, but this is not my style. So, and yet just like say chain metal, you get the idea. It's nice that I could print that and it's all going to be connected, interwoven, good, no assembly required. Still just going to be the plastic. I'm waiting for rubber. I'm waiting for something that I can wear. That's going to revolutionize that industry. I don't know where we're at there. That's really cool. So what am I doing now? I'm doing I've done cufflinks and done the tie clips and different things like that, because that's something I can make, and it's super cheap. Relatively affordable. So, question here. Yeah, here you go. This one, this, yeah, so the plastic is absorbable, it's I don't know what the correct term is, but it will absorb colors. Like this white, this will become dirty. It's durable otherwise, right? But since it's absorbent, is the word I'm looking for, it will, start to absorb other things, right? So I don't know if that answers your question. Obviously if I smash this on the ground, it's going to crack, but it's pretty durable. And first of all, if anybody could put this together right, then, I don't know. I might let you keep it if you could put it together right. But here, you want to feel this? Whoa, good catch. So that's, again, you can just kind of feel how durable it is. And I have other items up here as well. You get these nice crisp lines with this plastic. You guys, again, get the idea. And you have that rubber one, which is awesome. And a metal. There's plenty of different metals, right? So this is I've shown on my site, just as a resource as we wind down, a couple things. I'll just pull this up really fast. So, let me just open this up. Released 5 different videos on how to make, so here's the bottle opener, right, which is in my hand. This is an earlier one. That is the Creative Cloud logo. Here's that candle holder, right? Here's the ring, the iPhone case, and then some cufflinks. Okay, and these are not only the videos, but you have all the source files to kind of follow along. And beyond that, just to help you out some more, is a special code to get $15 off anything that you print through your first item through Shapeways. Okay. I will tweet this out today, so if you guys just watch my Twitter feed, but it's Adobe Make This 14, and that will work. But all the files are out there and available to you. And even on my site, I talk a lot about adding transparency and doing everything I kind of have shown today is done. These videos are on my site basically as well. So yes. And yeah, I love those shoes. All right.
So Paul, we have another question back here.
Yeah, sorry about that. Go ahead.
So that's all right. One question first. Have you tried the elastoplastic yet?
No.
Shapeways?
No, I haven't. It's
the flexible one.
I haven't tried that yet.
Okay. I was just wondering if you tried that material. And also, going back to her question, you can also print in carbon fiber now, in addition to PLA. It's carbon fiber reinforced PLA. So that might be a way to go for fashion.
Okay, cool. Carbon fiber, PLA filament. There's also wood. There's a wood type filament is another one I saw, but it's not. You buy the filament and would have to print it using a MakerBot or something. That's good stuff. Thank you for that. I'll try the elastoplastic. I've seen it there. It doesn't, I don't know. I'll have to try it out. I've never seen anything concerning that, but it could have. I actually did snap that into place, but it could have been. Exactly. So you could put that, you could have that printed and it would come assembled basically. If you have shapeways, do it because they can just blow out all that. They just blow out all that powder, and then all those pieces should move. You could do it both ways, so you have that flexibility. I would like to be able to just make something and have everything in place. There's a video online, somebody made a wrench, like a crescent wrench, and that little turny thing in the center, well, they printed it all out in one piece in metal, and it came out just like that wrench. It's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, could you print out a motherboard? If a motherboard can be like any one of those materials, the answer would be yes. But that's how they make motherboards, is through 3D printing as well. The circuitry, at least, right, that's basically a 3D printer that does the circuitry on a sort of two-dimensional plane. So, again, let me just pull up this closing slide because I want to keep the conversation going as well. Some resources and sort of my Twitter handle. But I also want to be respectful of your time, too. Do you guys have any more questions? I like what you guys are saying in terms of materials, which is awesome. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you can export an STL. And there's different, thank you for bringing that up, and this will kind of be the last thing I would do. I would jump in here, and yeah, I don't have a MakerBot, but I can export STL this way. And this will do the repairing that needs to happen. If I just do this way, it'll actually warn me. So if I export this 3D layer, it'll say, hey, you should not, let's see what the message I get. I think I might have, checked the box says don't show again. But nonetheless, this is how you do it. It's through this export STL. That's typically how, if I want to save that file for later, like I'll complete this project, I might have the STL. That's what I might do, is do it that way. So I've done it this way plenty, by the way, right here. You can send it to Shapeways, whoever. That STL file is what they're going to accept, basically. And what's cool is that, like Shapeways and Sculpteo will do repairs, too, on their end if there's ever any issues, which is nice. All right, guys. Well.
So, Paul.
Yeah.
Melinda's in the back here.
Yeah. Hi there.
Hi. Anyway, we at the Academy of Art University, thank you so much for your
guys.
presentation.
Thanks, guys.